Hello
channel.
friends, this is Amit here. Welcome to my channel Chautari. Basically, I will be dropping one video a week for learning coding. This channel not only provides coding videos, but also videos about our family trips and all. But yeah, coding video would be dropped once a week, and you'll be able to see me learn coding. And in process, we can learn together. And then I'll also be ensuring that you have the full view of how you can take up coding. So before we start, I want to talk about the Hawa of coding that has been created as of today. You will see that with companies like White Hat Junior and this and that and everything, and people showing that kids can learn coding, and it has been kind of banged into our head, saying that coding is difficult, and you need to have some basic level of understanding to get started and all. So let me clarify that to start coding you actually don't need any understanding of computer apart from like you should be able to open basic browser, should be able to download and install softwares. That is all that is needed. After that you can build up as you go, and you don't need to pay thousands and thousands of rupees to ensure that you get that kind of learning. Everything that is in relation to any language is already available online, and I'll be taking you through that journey also as to how we can see and check things online and try to understand it ourselves, so that we don't have to depend on any platform to learn coding. Because what these platforms generally do is they will encompass you in their platform itself. So even though you do learn coding, it will not be like you can code something outside and show it to the world, because it will be in their environment only that it will learn. But what I am going to teach you is you will take actual programming language, and even the kids can do it, even elderly person can do it, until and unless you have interest. And it's very easy to learn. So that is something that I am going to show you. So basically, to start coding, what tools are needed? I would suggest to at least have a laptop or a computer that is capable enough to run a browser. Any i3 computer should be good enough. You need not go above Intel i3 and say 4 to 8 GB of RAM. That should be more than enough. In fact, my setup itself is Intel i3 and 4 GB of RAM. Sorry, 8 GB of RAM. So and I can run from everything from Visual Studio, which is a coding IDE. IDE is basically an integrated development environment to start off with coding and everything. So main tools that we'll be using. Before we go to the tool, I'll tell you about the language that we are going to learn. We are going to learn Java. I don't have any background in Java. I have not learned Java ever. So I'll be learning while showing it to you. And once we have an understanding of Java, then we will build on it to get further understanding of Java. So we'll start off with the basics. I have not in fact installed Java in my system. I don't know how to install, so this is a clean slate. Another thing I wanted to highlight is how many languages there are. Like millions of languages, right? Some languages are like Sanskrit, which is C++. Basically everything originates out of those. But then after that, there was a big boom. So you will see C, C Sharp, C++, and Java forming the basic building block. And you have C Sharp on the Microsoft side, which has been here for quite some time. But after that, millions of languages have popped up. Out of which, again, still Java is something that is considered a very good language to learn, because it is very diverse. You can use it anywhere from making websites to building things like even your car code, if it has chip code decoded in Java basically. So everything that you need to learn can be done through Java. So Java, if you know, you can do anything and everything that needs to be. Okay, so let's learn about Java basics. So as I told you, the main skill that you need to have whenever you want to learn programming language is basic Googling skill. And I'll also take you to some websites which act like a very ready reference, so that you'll be able to understand and learn better. So what are we going to learn? We are going to learn Java. So let's look at Java basics. Okay. So when we click on Java Basic, you can already see there are hundreds and hundreds of tutorials listed in the web, which you can learn to learn Java from the start, right? And you need to take any one. There is no good, bad that would come after you have some kind of intermediate understanding of the language. But to start off with, all you need is basically catch any one website and run with it. So let's take tutorial point. It looks like this is from Java itself, I'm guessing, with all the logo and all. I don't know if you are allowed to use that, but yeah. Okay, so let's start off with the environment setup first, then we'll go through the overview and all. So to do the environment setup, you click on the environment setup link and you see. So it very clearly gives us an idea as to follow the instruction to download exe, right? So like that is, you cannot get simpler than this. You just have to go to a website and download. That's it. Right? So there is a JDK. JDK is a Java Development Kit. So basically you need to download the JDK, and then it also gives us an idea as to how you can download, where you can download everything. So you have different kind of installers here for Linux, Macs, Windows, everything. So generally we'll go for a Windows 68 installer. So let's click on I have previewed and download. Okay, so we download it here, and while it is downloading, let me explain it to you. Java as a language is called a object-oriented language. So object-oriented, see that the thing is, when we started off with programming languages, they were like a written set of rules and scripts. But finding structure in that written set of rules and script becomes very difficult when your code is very big. So programming languages like C++ and Java, how they help us is they structure the programming languages into objects. So all these programming is done through object manipulation. So object can be anything, right? Yeah, you can take a car can be object, a bigger object. You can take its tire can also be an object. You can take its seat, it can also be an object, and we manipulate these objects to fit our programming, right? Like for example, let's talk about the seat. So seat, we can have a cover on it which is red or green. We can have a tire which is one with the mesh that will help you drive on the snow, or without a mesh, right, with different cuts of tires and so on and so forth. So that is object manipulation. So what you do is you basically, instead of simply throwing commands here and there, you throw commands depending on the object, and basis that it will be easier to group your commands in one place, so that you know and understand where my basic things are. Okay, so another thing that Java provides is platform independence. So as you saw in the installer kit also that it is available for Mac, it is available for Linux, it is available for Windows. So it is basically platform independent, it can run anywhere. So with Java, what happens is Java has a JVM, which is Java Virtual Machine. All Java code runs on top of the JVM, right? So all code that you write is converted into an intermediate language called bytecode. So basically that intermediate language is what the computer understands. So basically if we write hello, how are you, for computer it is just 1 and 0 it does not make any sense for the computer to understand hello, how are you, right? But then what the programming languages like Java do is they convert this into bytecode which is understandable to the computer, and it will make it instead of ones and zeros, so that the computer understands that if it is 110, it basically means hello, how are you, and I need to respond with so on and so forth, right? So that gives a very clear idea as to what the computer has to respond with. So this platform independence is something that Java has, which basically means that it can run in any platform that is there. And as you would have known, Java is the language that is mostly used in all the servers that are there to run different things and code for the servers. Okay? Another thing is Java, they say it is simple to learn, but yeah, it is simple to learn in terms of if you have an open mind and a learning desire, you can very easily grasp it. But if you what I mean is there is it is very easy in Java to get overwhelmed, because there is so much literature, right, in relation to Java, that you will get overwhelmed because of the amount of data that is there. So while learning any programming language, what I would suggest is to take it slow. So that's why I am planning to learn one step at a time. That is one thing in a week, and we'll build on that slowly. So it is simple, but the care should be taken that we don't overwhelm ourselves with gathering all the information and trying to understand and then failing to understand. Another thing is security. Security is something that is virus free and tamper proof and everything they say, but this is again something that you can code, not necessarily language. This thing it can be platform specific, like JVM might be very secure, but Java as a language security does not mean anything. But yeah, you can write secure code with Java, that is for sure, and with any language for that matter. It's architecture neutral. This again ties into the platform independence. Since it is platform independent, obviously it has to be architecture neutral, because say you get into Linux machine which runs on processor which is not Intel, and you get into a Windows machine which is Intel architecture PC or ARM architecture PC, then all these architectures are different. That is basically the CPU is different, the way it handles the data is different. So if you don't have a architectural neutral language, then what happens is for every architecture there will be a different language. So Java basically gets rid of that. So all these things happens because of the JVM. So basically, as I told you, JVM is a platform on which Java runs, right? So what happens is in JVM itself, JVM for different environment will be different. Like for Linux, there will be a different JVM. For Windows, there will be a different JVM. For Mac, there will be a different JVM. But everything after JVM that is built is, platform independent and written in Java. That this is like you can say, you can build a house in a marshy land. You can build it on a rock. You can build it on normal ground. Right, but house will be house, but the foundation will be different depending on where you are building it. right? So likewise, JVM will be different depending on which platform you are using, but Java, the code you write, the way it runs will be same, because even though the foundation is different, the house is same. You can make it anywhere. The house should need not change. Another thing is in relation with portability, since it is already architecture neutral and platform independent, you can basically take your code anywhere and run it anywhere. So it is very portable. And robustness is Java has a very big community. It has been there for a long time. So people have kind of eliminated the error per situation and taken out the compile time error, and this other will come to all these terms later. So basically, they have taken care that all the issues with Java is taken care of. So this is what basic Java programming looks like. We'll come to that in next week's video, not today, but yeah. Okay, another thing is the application of Java programming. So basically it is multi-threaded. This is a kind of difficult concept to grasp. It's like multi-threading is basically what happens is when you do a one-to-one interaction, right? Say there are two components talking to each other. One person A is talking to enterprise B. Right. Now one person A talking to enterprise B, then a person C comes and he talks to enterprise B, then person D comes and he talks to enterprise B. If you do this in a serial fashion, then by the time you reach person Z, there will be a long line of people waiting for that turn. What multi-threading does is basically it puts number of operators on the enterprise. So all the people A to Z can talk to the enterprise at the same time. Right? This is like call center. Like call center, if there is only one person who is picking up the call, obviously there will be a long line of people waiting. But if there are 20 people picking up the call, then the line would be divided by by a huge number. So people will not be waiting. So multi-threading, what it basically does is it gives us an opportunity to interact in a multiple way, not multiple way as in different ways, but through multiple channels at the same time, so nobody has to wait, right? And simultaneously tasks can be taken care of. So where does this come into picture is basically where does this come into picture is basically you need to say run a task which is a huge task, and but it is something that you can run on parallel, right? Like say you have 25 sums to do, 2 plus 5, but you don't need the answer to be appended. For example, it's not 2 plus 5, then whatever is the answer plus 2, whatever is the answer plus 5, then that becomes serial, right? But if you simply need 2 plus 5 and 5 plus 8 and 3 plus 2 and so on and so forth, then you don't need to wait for the answer, right? In that case, with multi-threading, what you can do is you don't need to wait for the calculation to complete and then throw in another question. You can ask the question simultaneously at the same time, right, without waiting for the other thing to complete. So that is basically multi-threading. We'll come to this. This is a very intermediate and up kind of concept. So we'll not be obviously, I think, taking it this month at least. So we'll see. But when later it comes, I will explain this further in detail. It is interpreted. So Java bytecode is translated on the fly. So that is to say that you have a bytecode, and that bytecode needs to be interpreted and changed into the language that machine understands, right? So from Java it changes to bytecode, from bytecode it changes to machine understanding language, which is basically a set of ones and zeros. So this basically what happens is this native code, that is this machine code, is not stored anywhere. So as and when it is needed, the Java bytecode is converted into machine code. So this is very rapid, and this is a lightweight process. Another is high performance. So Java has compilers. There is a big debate saying that compiler is better or interpreter is better. So basically it is like this. With compiler, it basically compiles the code and puts it as a one whole unit. And with interpreter, it basically has to go line by line, right? So with interpreter, it's like reading a book, right? And with just-in-time compilers or any compiler, it is like doing a Google search, right? So if you have to say find a location in a book, then you have to read line by line. Maybe it's in page 50, you'll have to reach 50 pages before you get the information that you need. But with compilers, you can directly go to page 50, right? There is nothing stopping you. So that it basically gives high performance. Distributed, obviously it is not dependent on the environment, so it can be distributed, and it can be in different places. The same Java code dependencies can be in different places, so you don't need to have everything at one place. And it's also more dynamic in consideration to C and C++. There are a lot of other more dynamic languages, but yeah, when you consider with C and C++, Java is more dynamic. So basically, so that's about Java. Now, as you can see, I have already downloaded it here. So I'll simply double click on that, then where it will start off with the installation. So as you can see, it is saying preparing to install, and then all you need to do is next, finished. Don't change any path or folder as far as possible. Simply let it do default install so that we don't face issues. So I'll forward this. Okay, then it says next step to assess your tutorial, etc. You click on here, but we don't need that because we are already on another website that we are learning from. So we can close this. To validate whether it is actually installed or not, we need to go to the command cmd and then see Java version. So it gives the version, so we can see that it is installed. Right? If you are not sure on how to what extensions to use and all, you can simply write Java and press enter. So it will show you all the kind of parameters that you can pass with that command. Like here, if you see CP, it gives the class path, right? If you do P, it gives the module path. D describes the module, right? Slash version is version, slash version is version. So version also shows version, and so on and so forth. Right? Okay. So we know now Java has been installed. Now let's look at what is the next process in this one. So, okay. There is one more thing that this is a easy install, right? So it might so happen that Java might not be added to your path. So path is like a default path where basically all kinds of programs are listed so that they can be available throughout Windows, right? So if I go here and I right click on my PC and go to the properties, if I go here, advanced system setting, then I will see something called environment variables. So when you click on environment variables, there is something called path. This is the path which we are talking about. See, all these things are something that will be used by Windows commonly, right? Like for example, if I want to do OpenSSH, then I don't need to go to that folder to use from command. I can use it from anywhere in Windows, right? Similarly, here if you see, there is a Java path. So Java path basically gives the path of Java where Java is installed. So this is to ensure that Java is available throughout the system. So you don't need to go to a particular folder to access Java. So if this is not there, all you need to do is add new, and then you need to go to where Java is installed. It asked you where it will install, right? So that would generally be program file Java JDK, and you need to select the bin folder, right? And then you need to put it here, so that that gets registered and you have Java accessible everywhere, right? So that is one extra step that we need to perform. So once this is done, Java, we can write it anywhere, right? We can write it in a notepad. There is IDE. IDE, as I had explained, is the integrated development environment where you can do development. So if you write it in a notepad, right? Like for example, if I open a notepad and I simply write like public class something, right? As you can see, there is no indentation, etc. So you will have to do tab and indent and do all kind of jugglery, which would not be necessary with the integrated development environment. Moreover, integrated development environment will also provide you different kinds of hints and color coding and things which will help you with your program, and it also helps you to run the program in the IDE itself. So you don't have to go out of the IDE. Like for example, if I use Notepad, then the only way for me to run the program is again go to CMD and do Java and run the programs. There is no other way, right? So with NetBeans and Eclipse, you don't need to do that. So let's go to Eclipse. .org. This is the IDE that I'll be using for remainder of the tutorial. So let's click on download. So here you will see it has already identified my system, saying that it is Windows and it is 32 to 64 bit, so it's the same package for both, right? So we need to click on that and on download, and hopefully it will start downloading. Okay, so it will start downloading now. While that is downloading, let's go ahead and check if our Java is functioning properly or not, right? So to do that, what we will do is we'll go to this folder, and then we'll create a new file. And remember, a Java file is always named Java, so we'll write one simple hello world program. So it will be hello world.java. Then you right click on this. Now since we don't have IDE as of now, we will be using Notepad only for the time being until Eclipse is installed. So this is only for validation that it will work. So there are different things like object, class, method and all. You don't need to do that for the time being. Let's just copy this, paste it here, save it, and try to see if it runs. So basically why I am doing this is just to check whether Java is properly installed or not. You don't need to care about what is there as of now. We will be covering that as part of the next Learn With Me video. So let's go to CMD and let's do dir cd desktop. So that is where the folder is. Dir cd Java dir. So here is the hello world.java. So if you do Java hello world.java, you should see ideally. So here it says system.out println, right? So println basically would print whatever is written inside println. So here hello world is written. So basically upon execution of this command, you should see hello world, right? Let's try. Yes, as you see, it took some time to compile that code, and then it gave hello world. So as I have already told you, compiling basically means changing your Java code to bytecode and bytecode to machine language, so that machine understands, and then once machine understands, it will throw out the output saying that whatever is written in the system.ln println, you show the same thing here. So just to show it to you, if I say hello ds, I save this, I run it again, and it again takes some time to compile, and you see hello ds is there. Right? So our Java has been installed properly. So this is one relief. Now let's go and install our IDE. Now Eclipse IDE is downloaded. So let's double click on that. So this is also a simple setup. We don't need to do anything much. We don't need to change folder. No need to do anything. Simply click next, 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 finish. So it's very easy to get the setup started. There is nothing that needs to be done, and no need to worry, you will not break anything. The maximum that can happen is it will not install properly, and we can reinstall it if it does not install properly. So no worries, you can simply go ahead, double click, do next, next, next of whatever option comes, and then continue. So here you see Eclipse basically provides many different kinds of tools, some for C, C++, some for enterprise Java, some for JavaScript and web development, some for PHP, and so on and so forth. So we are going to do Eclipse IDE for Java developers, right? So it is basically saying, it is asking me where is the JDK, so it has automatically identified that my JDK is in program file Java JDK 15.0.1, which I had showed you while adding path, and it is saying that it is going to install it here, like in my user, and it will create a folder called Eclipse, and then it will install the Eclipse IDE there. So let's click on install. If you see, it will take some time to install this, so you'll have to accept. It will take some time to install this because it downloads the dependencies and everything. So I will just fast forward to the point where installation is completed. So now the installation has been completed, so it will show me launch and readme file, open in System Explorer and keep the installer. So let me click on launch so that it opens the IDE. As you can see, the IDE is opening. It will take a bit of time, when you start it the first time, because then it sets up the environment and it copies the file and it makes everything ready so that when it opens it, it has all the required details with it. So here it is asking where should be the workspace. So workspace basically is where your code will be saved. Whatever you write on the IDE will be saved in this location. So in case you need to access it by another program, like tomorrow you feel like using not using Eclipse and maybe using something else, then you can go to the same workspace and you don't lose anything. You can directly start coding from there. So I will use this as my default. So I am clicking this one and then clicking on launch. As you see, it is trying to open the IDE. It again takes some time to create different folders to ensure that all the dependencies are listed. Action. Okay, so now it has opened. It took quite some time because it is the first time that it is opening, so obviously it will take some time. Okay, so let's you can take a guided tour to create the famous hello world in Eclipse. So we'll not do that. We'll we already have a guided tour here, so we'll take
the normal route. So what you need to do basically is create a Java project. Then we use our hello there. We'll create a new project, and then we will do next. So it shows that everything is there, right? Project is there. This is not necessary as of now, so you can simply click finish. It is asking create a module hello there, so let's say okay, go ahead and create, and then we will create a new class. We'll call this class hello, and we'll also say that include the void main. So this main is the main starting point of any program. So your execution of the program will start from here. So we need to include this class to ensure that the program runs. So let's do okay. So as you can see, this has been created now. And let's go here and try to see if we can say that I was telling you. See, this is how SDK comes in handy, right? That it will show you different hints so that you can use it with ease, right? So okay, so here you see now everything is written and done. So let's try to run this. So this is throwing some kind of exception. I don't know why, but what we need to basically do is go here and then in the Java editor, Java compiler, I need to ensure that we restore everything to default and apply, and then if we run, it will work basically. See, hello world is printed. So basically this is working now without any hassle. So our Eclipse is proper, the setup is done.
So I will close this here today, and then we'll take the next step forward next week, which basically is the syntax, the object and classes, and I'll try to cover constructors also. So basically we saw that it is not very difficult to install and get things working in Java. Very easy, anybody can do it, right? And I'll be dropping this kind of video where you'll be learning with me. As you saw, I made a ton of mistakes. Even I don't know the language. This is equally difficult for me like it is for you. So we'll learn together, and in the meantime, the hope is that we'll reach to a level where we can learn about multi-threading and abstraction. And, there are a lot of things to learn in Java. It's a vast subject, right? So we'll do all that, right? Thank you guys for joining me in my video, and please hit like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends so that even they can learn Java. And see you next week.